Hey, my friend, welcome back to the Marketing Nerds podcast, where I take the best marketing tactics out there and break them down so you can actually use them to grow your business. Now, these just aren't things I Googled on the internet or learned from a book. These are real, actual things tips and tricks that I have applied myself in the real world. And we're diving into systems and strategies that the biggest shows in the world use. Now, these are podcasts that are not fooling around. They have the stuff that gets millions of views, drives insane engagement, and turns podcasts into massive brands. Now, I've got 5 big secrets for you today, and trust me, you're going to want to take notes.
1 nerd, 2 nerds, 3 nerds, 4 marketing nerds do so much more. Over hill and high where the nerd buggies go. Come along and bring you the Marketing Nerd Show. La 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 la
Welcome to the Marketing Nerds podcast. My name is Brian, and I'm flying solo today. Ellie is taking some time off, and I figured I would talk about podcasting, which I'm really good at. Podcasting and marketing go hand in hand. Now, take it from me, I've been a podcaster for 19 years, and these are the 5 things that I have done for my podcast, which has now been sold, which is now sort of defunct in a way. It's not being produced anymore. It's turned into this one, doing it on my own, but it's been sold. But this is what I did for the 19 years to make it successfully grow. Number 1. Now, did you ever notice how some podcast episodes just pull you in way before you even know what they're talking about? Now, that's not by accident. Thumbnail design is a science. We all hear about this on YouTube, Mr. Beast, YouTube, but it also applies for podcasts. Thumbnail design is a science. Now, most podcasters, they make one thumbnail and roll with it. That's it. They just show one thumbnail. It's probably the same thumbnail for every single episode. Now, big podcasters who are serious, why can't I say big podcast? Big podcasters who are serious, who get the big listens, who are out there, they test hundreds of thumbnails before an episode drops. Now, I know they test hundreds. You're thinking they have a team to do this. You're thinking they have all of these tools and spend thousands of dollars to do this. But believe it or not, there are tons of tools out there, thanks to AI, that will test your thumbnail before any episode drops. There's even free forums and free groups and free tools that analyzes your thumbnail, tests it, and makes sure it's something that's going to attract a person's eyes and want to listen. This is the most important part. Thumbnail design is a science. And getting that one right with all of the testing that you do before an episode drops is genius. So you want to create tons of variations with different fonts, different colors, different facial expressions. And what I used to do is run these thumbnails as Facebook ads to see which thumbnails people actually click, okay? This is something that like $5 a day, $1 a day to run tons of variations of these. And the winner is basically the thumbnail that they use. The one with the most clicks, obviously, is the one that gets most attention. And that's the one that you want to use on your podcast when it appears in Apple iTunes, when it appears in Spotify, when it goes on Netflix now. You want to make sure that your thumbnail is something that they're interested in. Again, thumbnail design is a science. And the number 1 signal ranking for any piece of content is that thumbnail, and you're looking at click-through rate. If people aren't clicking, your content gets buried. It's that simple. YouTube keeps track of your clicks. They throw you into the algorithm if people are interested. And it starts with the science of that thumbnail. And if you're really serious about growth, I'm going to stress this. Take it away from this segment here. If you're really serious about growth, test your thumbnails before you go live. So tools like thumbnailtest.com can really, really help. And there are tons of other tools. Now with AI, they know everything that's going on and why people click. Take a look at YouTube. Tons of ideas there. And you can really get into thumbnails and what they look like. All right, we're talking about what the big boys do to make their podcast successful. We're not talking about create, post, and ghost. We're not talking about that. So let's talk about topics. And this is number 2, topics. We're talking about 5 big podcast growth secrets. Now, this one is a really good one. Now, we all know that news moves fast, okay? It's going. And if you move faster, you win. No one wants to listen to a podcast. No one wants to watch a video on something that's irrelevant and not interesting, especially to your audience, okay? Find a trending news topic that your audience cares about and talk about it. You know, there are all sorts of tools that you can find out what your audience is interested in. I use one called Gummy Search, where it looks at Reddit. And I look at the video editor forum, I look at the marketing forums, I look at what people are talking about, what are the trends, what's hot, what are they interested in, and I do a podcast about that. Find a trending topic, find a trending news topic that your audience cares about. Information moves fast, and if you move faster, you win. Get deep into the details. Because mainstream topics, especially like mainstream media, cover it for 5 minutes. Put it in your thumbnail. People click. That will get people interested. I mean, sure, it's somewhat of a bait and switch, but it works. But you got to make it relevant. You can't really bait and switch and then dump your audience and it was, a spammy click. You don't want to do that because you want to build a foundation of listeners and you don't want to be false about it. Think about this. When the news broke about Trump, remember he was that assassination attempt? I mean, that information was so quick, and Chris Williamson had a full-length deep dive episode within days. And guess what? It blew up. News moves fast. And if you move faster, thumbnail, great content, relevant information, you're not moving a giant elephant across the room. You get that information up there faster. You move faster, you win. People want instant takes on what's relevant, especially breaking news. Stuff like this blows up. You're riding a trend that's already viral. So if you're talking about marketing, if you're talking about plants, if you're talking about dentistry, if your audience is interested in your topic, they're also interested in what's going on in the particular industry that they're involved with. So if you're riding a trend, whether it be news, marketing, video production, planting, being a coach, opening a business, entrepreneurship, whatever, if you're riding a trend in any one of those industries, that's already going viral. It's already happening. You break out of your niche and into the mainstream. You're going. You're not talking about something that's totally irrelevant. That's why it's so important to keep your finger on the pulse of what your audience is interested in. And there are so many tools to do this. Information moves fast. Trending topics in your industry, specifically mainstream media even. And if you move faster, you win. And if you have a quick reaction system in place, if something big happens, you get in front of that mic as soon as possible and you start talking about it. Like I know right now in marketing, in the marketing world, on this podcast, AI, even in the video production world, AI is a big disruptor. This is a topic everyone wants to talk about. And if you have a quick reaction system in place, if something big happens, you get in front of that mic as soon as you can. You pop that thing on and you start talking about it. Reactive episodes ride the viral wave, and that boosts you up. It's a great strategy for discoverability. All right, so if you think you're done after posting your podcast, you're doing it wrong. I want to talk about number 3 out of the 5 that we're talking about today on this podcast, the content waterfall system. One episode, 50 plus pieces of content, you could do this. All right, so if you really think you're done after posting your podcast, think again. It's not post and ghost anymore. Before, during, after, you got to work on it. The biggest podcasters, Lex Friedman, Joe Rogan, Diary of a CEO, love that podcast. They don't just upload these episodes, post and ghost. They create a waterfall of content from every single interview. All right, so what's a content waterfall? What is this waterfall that these popular podcasts make? It's not just a podcast. It's little pieces of content that follows. So how it works is basically you have one full-length episode, okay? So let's say your show is 30 minutes. You have to create some short, high-impact moments. You see this a lot in Diary of a CEO. I love watching this podcast. I love listening to it in the car. I love watching it. Love the 10 YouTube plus video clips that they make, which are very short, high impact moments, and it makes me want to watch, or it doesn't make me want to watch. Either way, they're very exciting. You're watching these clips and you get excited and you want to watch. So part of that waterfall is put some videos on YouTube, 10 tops. Instagram, put at least 20. Put them in Reels, split them up on TikTok. So you're looking 30 videos, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Put them in the shorts, Instagram Reels, and of course on TikTok. Pop these puppies up there about that podcast you just had. Take these small little snippets, short, high-impact moments, and post them up there, leading back to the podcast, the longer form episode that you just did. Also put up Twitter threads, breaking down some key insights, put some text up there, blast something out to your newsletter subscribers, summarize what's been going on. That's super smart to do. Newsletters, emails, LinkedIn. So that's a content waterfall. It works because people need multiple touch points before committing to that long podcast. You're basically putting little promotional pieces out there. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, wow, this is a lot of work. 50 plus pieces of content. This is insane. If you don't have a big staff, have AI do it. Tools like Opus Clip, Descript, they do all of this for you because people need multiple touch points before committing to a long podcast. They're not on your website. They're on YouTube, Instagram. You need to flood your channels with this content that leads to that full-length episode of yours. And seeing these clips reminds them to go and listen. If they're organic, you put them on your channels. That's great. If you want to pay, boost an ad on Facebook, boost now on LinkedIn. You can even boost on YouTube now because more content equals more chances to go viral, more chances to be seen. And for the number 3 position in becoming successful, the things that these successful podcasts do, these growth secrets, I want to call them, these are huge. They don't cost a lot of money and they don't take a lot of your time away because of these AI tools. All right, so that leads me into the next number 4.
Hey there, business owner, marketer, or creative genius. Thanks for tuning into the Marketing Nerds podcast. We're here to mix things up, drop some knowledge bombs, and sprinkle a little marketing magic into your day. Every episode is jam-packed with insider tips, cutting-edge trends in video production, AI sorcery, and marketing hacks to turn you into the smartest, savviest marketer on the block. Stick with us, and not only will you keep up with the competition, you'll leave them wondering what hit them. So hit like, smash that subscribe button, and join the nerd party over at marketingnerds.ai. We promise it's way more fun than it sounds.
Talking about retention. And you know what gets people really hooked? Not only is it that thumbnail, not only is it that 50 plus pieces of content that are pretty much promoting your full-time episode, but if you can do a trailer, that really gets people hooked on your podcast. It's not just this episode is about ... I'm talking about highly produced movie trailer style teaser. Invest the time and the money to do this. It has to be the trailer for your entire podcast. Just like a trailer for a movie promotes that movie, have a movie trailer style teaser, whether it's audio or video or both. Highly recommended. It gets people hooked on your podcast instantly. And what's the formula? I always talk about this formula. The hook, have a jaw-dropping statement in those first 5 seconds. You have a lesson, a mind-blowing insight that delivers value. You have an emotional roller coaster, and then you have a cliffhanger. It's a simple 30-second, 1 second, shouldn't even be, 1 minute, shouldn't be over 2 minutes long. Following the formula. Hook, lesson, emotional roller coaster, and cliffhanger. And it works because it keeps people watching. And the goal is to keep them watching longer. You want retention, you're going to get it with a trailer. And YouTube loves, almost every platform loves, for their users to stick around longer. So when you have a trailer, now Spotify has trailers, an audio trailer. If you're pumping your RSS feed to YouTube, you can also have a video trailer. And again, retention. YouTube loves it. Spotify loves it. Any platform wants the user to stay on their platform longer, and trailers keep them watching longer. The engagement rate, the retention rate is through the roof. So, number 4 secret for growing your podcast, have a trailer. It's so easy to do. I'm not talking about a cheesy one that AI does, which you can probably do, but you got to have that formula, the hook, the lesson, something that delivers value to the viewer that you want to tell them, hey, you know, what's going on? Emotional roller coaster, cliffhanger, something that is an open loop in the end that makes them need to watch the full episode. You want that in the end. Trailer, it's so important. Number 4, that's number 4. All right, so final and last secret for something to implement on your podcast to grow it. Now, the pros don't want you to know this. Number 5, finally. You know what separates these massive podcasts to the ones that stay small? Okay? This is the 5th and final and the most impactful, powerful tip I can give you. Massive podcasts to the one that stays small. Okay, this is how they grow. How you grow, like you're spreading seeds. Diary of a CEO does this a lot. And they have grown tremendously because of it. Your guest. Don't just pick any random hoo-ha. Pick guests who will grow your show. Now, in order to get some good guests, you, of course, have to be something that they want to be on. So the bigger the audience that you have, whether it's 100 people in a niche topic or 5 million people, you have something that a guest will want to be on, especially if it's a targeted audience. Pick guests who will grow your show. So here's the criteria to follow. Okay, this is why I said get your pen and paper out. Listen to this closely. This is the guest selection criteria to follow. If you're going to have a guest on your podcast, 1 million plus social followers, tops, across the board. Doesn't have to be on one platform. It could be on multiple. So let's say a combination of Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, Blue Sky now, X, 1 million plus. You're not to go anything lower than that. 1 million plus. If you want to seriously grow your show, leverage your guests who have 1 million plus social followers so they can promote your episode. Think about it. You have someone on your show, they're going to promote your episode by being on your show. And some of them are crawling, grabbing, desperate to be on a podcast because they want to share a story or insight. They want to share something that's unusual that happened to them. And most of them do. And that's the criteria, the second piece of criteria to have on picking a guest that will grow your show. They have an exclusive story. They have an insight. They have a tool. They have a book. They have a product. They have a device. They have a system. They're a coach for a specific industry. If they have an exclusive story or insight, have them on your show. 1 million plus social followers. Also, 1 and 2, that's the criteria. Now, number 3, if they have a book and they proved their expertise with some compelling content, if it's a best-selling book, if it's a product, anything, have them on your show. So that's the 3 guest selection criteria for you to follow when you want someone to grow your show. Massive podcasts do this. I mean, it's like throwing your net out there and reeling in thousands of fish with that one net. That one net is your guest who already knows where the fish are. And it works because they have a built-in audience. This is their built-in audience. And when they promote the episode, guess what happens? You get access to them and their audience. So really think about this before you get a guest on your show. Ask yourself, will this guest bring in new listeners to my show? If not, not important. Reconsider. I mean, you can get someone with 500,000 followers, an exclusive story, and a best-selling book. Okay. But we're talking about massively leveraging guests to grow your show. This collaboration it's like high-octane gas in your car. All right, let's say they have, 1 million social followers, but no story or no book. All right, that's not really, I don't know about that either, but you got to follow that criteria. Following the criteria, that guest selection criteria works 100% of the time. 1 million social followers, an exclusive story or insight, and a best-selling book, or if they have expertise. All right. I just told you a bunch of secrets, and I hope you wrote some of this down because they're so simple to implement. I know they're easy to talk about. And again, I've been running a podcast for 19 years. Just started the Marketing Nerds. I'm a video producer. I do podcasts. I'm also a Fortune 500 marketer. I know what I'm doing. And this stuff works. It really does. It's so simple. It sounds so simple to do, but when you actually execute, it's not as easy, especially doing the 50 pieces of content. You want to put out this 50 pieces of content to, just like Joe Rogan does, Diary of a CEO. You don't want to post and ghost. You want to kind of take all of these little pieces of that full-length episode and toss it out there on YouTube. So it's not easy, okay? It's not easy, but whoever said easy things are rewarding? The harder it is, the more reward you get, my friend, my fellow podcaster, my fellow videographer, my fellow marketer. If it's easy, you're not going to get the best rewards. So I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying it's hard. With the right tools and the right strategy and the time, it will work. So let's recap some of these takeaways. Let's recap and pull away some of the takeaways that we were just talking about. Do a quick recap. We were talking about thumbnails. Number one, what shows do to massively grow their audience? Podcast, now we're talking about. Test those thumbnails before you publish. So important. Drop fast, reactive episodes when relevant news in your industry or even mainstream news breaks. Turn that podcast that you just created into 50 pieces of content. You can do it. Don't even think about it. I know a lot of artistic people, they're really detail oriented and they want to get it right, and it takes them an hour to do one piece of content. And I understand that. I get it. It's not going to work with a creative person. You got to be business minded. Turn that podcast into 50 pieces of content. Throw it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect is going to slow you down, my friend. Don't do it. And don't forget about that trailer. Hook those viewers. Have that trailer be your anchor to bring people in, to show your purpose about your podcast. And only book guests who will grow your audience. That's it. Now, you don't have to do all 5 of these at once because this is overwhelming stuff. I just gave you like gold here. Don't spend it all in one place. And you can't. You only have so much time in the day, week, month, year, and in your life. Pick one of these strategies and implement it tomorrow. Start tomorrow. Start as soon as this podcast ends. Start it this week. Start it tomorrow. Implement it this week. And DM me or email me at brian@marketingnerds.ai and tell me which one you're trying. I want to know. I'll help you out. Especially if you want to test those thumbnails before you publish. There's so many tools out there to do this for you. AI-generated tools. You want to turn that podcast into 50 pieces of content? Contact me. I can help you out. I know the tools. Email me, brian@marketingnerds.ai. Tell me what you're trying. And if you need more assistance, I'll be glad to help you out. That's why I'm here. And this is how the biggest podcasts grow fast. And now it's your turn. And if this episode helped you, screenshot it, share it on Instagram, tag me at marketingnerds.ai, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast because next week we're breaking down some pretty cool marketing tactics for small business and growth, especially in this economy. These are tips and tactics and tools that you need to know. Until next time, go make it happen. Go do it. What are you waiting for?
Be sure to visit us for more geeky fun at marketingnerds.ai.